I'm telling you, just type in Blade action scenes and watch it again and tell me it doesn't belong. Also, I had to get Wesley Snipes in here somewhere because you can't have Wesley Snipes not in a 90s action movie tier.
And arguably, this might be one of Snipes' best acting roles, too.
He's so good in it.
He is good in it. He's dark, he's moody, foreboding.
Funny.
He's funny, he's a bit of an a-hole.
Yeah.
I mean, he's really good in it. Chris Christopherson's good as just like his southern sidekick.
I love it.
Yeah, it's a good, solid movie.
I don't want to get the R rating, but like, some mother effers are trying to ice skate uphill. And then when he looks at the cop, he goes, mother effer. Like, it's awesome. And then like, he's cool, but he's trying.
Mm-hmm.
I was watching Blade Trinity again, and I remember loving it because of Ryan Reynolds and Jessica Biel. She was an awesome action movie. She could have been an action star. Like I don't know how long you can sustain that because she got jacked for that movie.
She did get jacked for that.
I wanted them out. I wanted more of Wesley Snipes. As much as I love them, I'm like, they should have let Wesley finish up his trilogy. Never. Now, next is Leon, Luc Besson. Now, I guess people could say Leon is a thriller maybe, or it's a drama. I think this movie has to be in here because of the different type of hitman. He was untouchable. The opening scene where he's killing people. Yeah. The finale where he's fighting. Like, Gary Oldman's villain. Everyone. I mean, this movie has some weird context with Natalie Portman. I think it's a father-daughter relationship. There's no, like, love story
there's nothing sexual with
Nothing.
It. But I think I wouldn't say maybe one of the negative aspects to the movie, but I think that's part of, I don't know, I'm trying to figure out how to phrase it. That feels like a connotation that's followed it throughout the years, is people don't necessarily know how to relate to that relationship.
Maybe when we saw it when we were 13, we're like, oh wow, Natalie Portman. But now when you watch it as a 37-year-old man, you're like, ooh.
Yeah.
But I guess I never got that vibe from Jean Reno's character, Leon, in it. But I guess just for me, the action scenes. I see the action in this movie so clearly. I had to put it in here.
Mm-hmm.
I love Gary Oldman's character, the ending. I think I almost cried at the ending. When he, this is for Matilda, like, and then Danny Aiello's in it. I just like
it's a very, very good movie.
And so I don't know where you put it, but I had to add it. Next is tier 5 is Goldeneye, directed by Martin Campbell. Before this, he did No Escape, which I loved. I haven't seen it in 20 years, but I love No Escape with Ray Liotta. He also did Mask of Zorro, which I love. Your favorite, Vertical Limit. And then he rebooted Bond again for Casino Royale. But Goldeneye, the bungee jump in the beginning. The fight with Xenia on the top. Like this, the tank chase.
The tank chase. And the thing with Goldeneye is like,
the catwalk battle scene.
James Bond had like died out at that point. Like there hadn't been James Bond hadn't been in a movie in like 7 years or something like that. I mean, it was,
Dalton's Living Daylights?
Yeah, Living Daylight or something like that in like 88 or 86. So it's like, it'd been a very long time. And so people have been trying to figure out how to get James Bond back in. And then I remember at the time all this criticism with Pierce Brosnan being cast, and he was awesome.
And I like the return of an athletic Bond. That scene at the end, I also love the antagonist in this movie, 006, Sean Bean.
Yeah.
And I didn't really understand it when I saw it. When I watched it the first time, like, all the women that you slept with and died. Like, he's calling Bond out for his crap.
It's getting personal.
Like, you know how many women you killed? Like, are you going to drown it in a martini? Like, this is sophisticated stuff.
Other than Skyfall, this is the most personal James Bond movie.
I'd say so, just with 006 saying that stuff, and for England James, and like, I love the ending. I like the athletic Bond. When Bean and Bond are fighting, they're flipping, they're flying, they're jumping, they're running. I like the athleticism of it.
A scene that's always stuck with me, and I haven't seen this movie in probably a decade, and I need to go back and watch it again, is where they're on the dam, and that single prop plane goes off the dam, and there's nobody in it, and he's on like a motorcycle, and he jumps off. I remember watching this behind the scenes feature probably 15 years ago. They did that stunt. The guy actually had a parachute on in case. Obviously, in the movie, Bond doesn't, but it was a guy named, and I don't know how I remember his name, is B.J. Surhoff, follows the plane off the dam, skydives into that plane, and pulls it back up. It's like, that was a practical stunt.
It's a practical, like, the bungee jump.
It's insane.
Yeah, so this movie, maybe you could move it up, but I think it's tier 5. Ronin is my last one. Second to last is John Frankenheimer. He was known for Manchurian Candidate and all these kind of films, but Sean Bean's, man, he's like my tier 5 guy. But for me, the car chases in this movie.
I'm gonna say, I'm glad you included Ronin into this list somewhere.
I'm a Bullet guy, and I definitely like Vanishing. But those car chases, as much as... Alright, so this may sound like sacrilege, right? I love Bullet. I just watched it again. My in-laws and I had a long conversation about, because they recreated a car on a show. His son had it recreated as like but they used a Cobra body, not like a fastback body. Now, that was kind of on the empty streets of San Francisco, which is awesome. But I love the chase. But you watch Ronin, and these are packed streets. These are tight quarters. It's very thrillery. There's a mystery to it. But these car chases are on these packed streets with De Niro and Jean Reno and Sean Bean. I mean, I just love.
They're realistic car chases.
Yeah.
They're not going 128 miles an hour out on open roads. Like, these guys are struggling to get up to speed. They're hitting stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I will say, Tom Cruise, Jack Burton?
No, Jack Reacher?
Jack Reacher.
That was good.
Like, his car chase in that, like, I feel is, like, very, like, inspired by Ronin.
Yeah.
Like, for people who have not seen Ronin.
Jack Burton.
And
a truck chase?
And a truck chase. But I mean, like, they're hitting stuff. They're swerving into, like, hitting other vehicles. Like, it's not...
Imagine the second unit work. If you and I were on the second unit,
it's gritty.
Yeah.
It's gritty, and it's a realistic chase scene.
And the stunts are beautiful. The way they choreograph this. How long would it be? This second unit would take us months.
Oh, yeah.
We'd be drinking a lot of coffee.
For that, yeah. It'd be a lot of iced coffee. I don't know if they had iced coffee in 97, but
I just dumped some ice in my hot coffee. You watch it again and it holds up. I love the scene with the cup. Remember they drop the cup and he catches it? Yeah. You have Sean Bean being shifty. Jean Reno, correct?
Yep.
He's in 3 of my movies in this list. Good job, Jean. Last but not least, I had to add Rennie Harlin. I mean, he had Die Hard 2, which I think is an excellent action film. Cliffhanger, which I think is a very good action film. He did Deep Blue Sea in 99, but The Long Kiss Goodnight with the script by Shane Black, right? Mm-hmm. You can't have a 90s... I don't know, I had to have Shane Black, I had to have Rennie Harlin, but The Long Kiss Goodnight, I love Gina Davis in this movie, and I love Sam Jackson in this movie. I don't think it gets enough love, because the opening scene where she hasn't gotten her powers back and she's fighting in her house, it's so brutal. And there's an action scene where she chases down a thing on ice skates. There's another one where she jumps out of a window, shoots the hole in the water, and they fall into the water, the iced water, like where she's getting tortured.
Aren't they like suspended on a line at the end of the movie?
Yeah.
Like over a fire, and she like cuts the line, like, die screaming, mother.
Yeah. It's bloody, and I love the protagonist in it. I think that guy is hilarious. It's just a Shane Blacky script directed not over the top by Rennie Harlin. I just think it's a mixture of that. And I had to add it in tier 5 because I think it's underrated. I had to drop Long Kiss Goodnight. I don't know. I think I wrote an article about Deep Blue Sea for Rotten Tomatoes on its 20th anniversary. And if you think about the 90s, right? You know, in the 2000s, we started having Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Salt, Tomb Raider, Columbiana. But there weren't too many female-led action films movies in the 90s. And Cutthroat Island...
What's wrong with Barbed Wire? You didn't put that on there?
Oh, goodness. They gave $100 and some million to have Gina Davis star in a pirate movie. Like, that's...
one of the biggest flops of all time.
But, like, that's cool they did it, right? Yeah. Like, Rennie Harlin, you know, they were married, of course, with Gina Davis, but I don't know, I dig that we had this role, too. I think it was ahead of its time, because she became like a stone cold killer in this. She wasn't, does that make sense? Like, in this movie, she was a badass. And I don't think audiences were ready for that quite yet. Does that make sense? Like, she was just, I don't know, I dig it.
It's a good action movie and it's right. I don't know. I feel like it's got to be in there somewhere. But I'm also a huge fan of Die Hard 2 and Cliffhanger. So it's like I would not object if either one of those movies bumped it out of the way.
Cliffhanger's like tier 9. And I think Die Hard 2's tier 6.
Cliffhanger's so freaking good.
I watched it again, and it's
so good.
Now, the practical effects are cool, but there's some fight scenes that, I don't know, any movie where John Lithgow's working the ribs of Sylvester Stallone drops it a tier.
Yeah, but they're on a upside down helicopter off of a ladder.
I think this movie's ahead of its time, and I just love how on the ground it is, and I dig it. So that's my list, man. What would you add into these tiers?
Oh, man. Okay, well, you've had a big glaring omission, and we kind of talked about this before the podcast of Independence Day. For me, I think that's definitely an action movie. I don't know where that would go. I feel like that could go tier 3, possibly as high as tier 2. I don't know what it would replace, especially with the parameters of only 5 per tier.
Yeah.
But it's like that movie was so big and so ahead of its time when it came out in 96. At one point, it was like the 5th highest highest grossing movie of all
It
time.
made so much bank.
It was just massive, and how inventive and innovative it was, especially with the explosions. Like, they built the cities, model cities,
Little guys.
and they couldn't figure out how to create the explosions through it. So they literally turned their models vertical and shot the flames up through it to make these effects. I love that movie. It launched Will Smith. I mean, Bad Boys was big, but it wasn't, he could have still gone either way at that point in his career.
He was still B-movie, like, action star. Independence Day made him A++. Or he was maybe A- after Bad Boys, but then...
He was big, but he still wasn't quite leading man material. Like, he was top billed, and I believe that was his first movie being top billed, was Independence Day.
And when you see him punching an alien in the face and dragging
Welcome
it, like
to Earth.
he became an A-lister right then and there. I guess the dog fights, I want it on the ground kind of action.
I can get that. I can get where it would go out. I guess another Will Smith movie that I feel like could possibly be in there is Enemy of the State.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that movie is so incredibly underrated.
With a great cast.
Amazing cast, but just like
Gene Hackman.
the espionage tracking stuff, like
Yeah.
the wiretapping, like all that stuff, like people are paranoid today over that. And like, that's cutting edge back in 97.
Tony Scott,
Like,
dude.
you were not worried about somebody eavesdropping into your cell phone conversations and tracking you satellite and, you know, security camera networks and stuff like that. But like, that made that stuff a possibility.
Yeah, that could have been a tier 5er maybe at the most.
You left out Con Air. I don't know where that'd go. It's so incredibly cheesy. I'm not upset about it not being in a top 25.
I thought you'd be mad about that. I did, but
I don't know who it would replace.
I think it's a good idea with a good cast, but the action subpar. I mean, the final Vegas battle scene is lame. There's that shootout at they pin down the cops.
Company. John Cusack running around in his sandals.
See,
it's got out of all the action movies that we've listed, it may have like the overall best ensemble cast.
Oh, geez Louise, yeah. Put the bunny down.
I'm
Cusack,
John
Comey,
Malkovich,
Ving Rhames.
Ving Rhames.
When he was like fresh off Pulp Fiction. Yep.
Cage. Buscemi. Garland Green. I mean,
Nick Cage got ripped for that movie.
He got ripped. His accent's horrible. He would have been better off not going with an accent.
Yeah.
And his hair is disgusting.
I thought you would have been angry, so I'm glad that you didn't. I left it out because
I don't know who it would replace. I don't know where it would go.
Yeah. Any other 90s movies?
I'm kind of interested that you didn't put, I think we kind of talked about it, like Crimson Tide, Hunt for Red October.
Thriller?
I think they're probably more thrillers.
Yeah.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Does that hold up, or is that nostalgia?
I think it's nostalgia.
Yeah.
I think it's nostalgia.
Got it.
I've got to list it. Here, let me look at list that I made here.
When you're old school this.
You briefly mentioned Last Boy Scout when we were earlier.
That's more about, like, that movie for me is more about the dialogue and the Shane Black.
Because that's Shane Black too. I would think if you're gonna put a Shane Black movie in, since we didn't, did he have anything to do with Lethal Weapon 4?
That's a good one, but I don't think he did.
That was 98. If he didn't have anything to do with that.
They fought Jet Li.
Yeah.
That was epic.
I feel like I could put that in over, not necessarily Lethal Weapon 4. What did I just say? Last Boy Scout. I feel like I could put that in over Long Kiss Goodnight.
Last of the Mohicans was tough, but that's not
I don't think it's an action movie.
You know?
I don't think it's an action movie.
So overall, man, letter grade, what would you give my tiers?
Gosh.
A through F. No, overall.
I so badly want to give you like a C+ for like half-assing it, but you did a good job. Like I think it's a good solid A- grade.
Yeah, I didn't have.
It's good. It's really hard to argue with any of those. I think the biggest, and it's not necessarily a problem, my biggest thing with it is 5 per category. Like, I feel like it's almost like a Hall of Fame voting, where it's not necessarily on limit. It's, if you're good enough to be in a top tier, you're good enough to be in it. Like, so, I mean, in my mind, there's probably 10 to 12 movies that could be tier 1.
I just wanted drama for this. You know what I mean? I don't want to. You show a list where there's 100 movies in tier 1, no one's going to care. But you show a list where you have 5, I think that really builds the discussion. So
we mentioned Mask of Zorro. That's such a good movie. Men in Black.
Yeah, but there's no good action scenes.
Edgar suit.
Maybe Mask and Zorro could have made it in there. But I had the Martin Campbell Goldeneye, and I had Desperado, so I kind of thought that was covered.
You know what's really underrated is The Negotiator.
Thriller?
I think that's got a lot of action in it too.
Yeah.
There's a
Samuel
lot of
Jackson, dude.
shootouts.
He was great in the
Samuel
90s.
Jackson.
He had some killer 90 action movies. All right, well, so A-, man. I'm happy to hear that. So any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Well, I want to just throw this out there that maybe we could even do a podcast over this at some point. The greatest 5-year stretch